Hey everybody, this is Sol with another video, and I'm just going to try to do a quick follow-up. It's probably not going to be that quick, but I'm going to try and do a quick follow-up thanks to an announcement from Blizzard, or a statement by Blizzard, that talks about what their plans are for Azerite in the upcoming 8.1 patch. As you know, the Azerite system as it is right now is embattled. There is what I guess is a large element of players that are pushing back against the system for various reasons, including the fact that the traits that are a part of the Azerite system just suck donkey butt, as well as the mismanagement of how you have to swap out traits and armor in order to fit the right kind of spec or the right kind of loadout that you want, as well as the availability of this Azerite armor, notably with Mythic Plus dungeon runners who are trying to get this sort of gear, and they're finding out, well, kind of a little bit too late, that it's going to be extremely hard, at least as it is today. Blizzard's statement was pretty meaty, and they addressed overall availability of the traits or the armor, the lack of agency, as well as the trait depth, or otherwise the boredom of some of these traits. So what do we have to look forward to, or what are we going to dread? Now, before I continue, this entire video, what I'm going to talk about is based only on this announcement. This isn't even data mined information. There is no build to look at. There's no example for us to refer to. So you're not going to see anything on screen. So if you're looking at the screen, you can turn away now, okay? 3 major changes or shifts in the design philosophy are going to take place, and I'm going to summarize. So I'm going to have a link to the post in the description below, and I do advise taking a look at the entire breadth of the information in case I'm not covering things correctly, or if you want to respond, refer to that post. First off is the availability of Azerite armor across the board, and not just concerning participants of Mythic Plus. Basically, what's going to happen is that the random Azerite armor thing that you get at the end of an emissary quest, it's going to scale all the way up to 370, up from 340 as it is right now. Number 2 is that Blizzard is going to continue looking at the current allotment of Azerite traits and do their best to make these more interesting. And third, which is kind of a surprise to me, they're going to add a 4th ring, a 4th outer ring, which is going to serve as another spec-specific kind of trait assortment. Also, because these major shifts aren't going to be available until the next patch, they are working on some sort of hotfix to enable at least a little bit of this. So from the looks of this post, it appears that Blizzard is setting the expectation that there will be a hotfix that will enable the Azerite caches that you get from the end of Emissary Quest to award 370s up from 340, and then when the patch actually comes out, it's going to go up accordingly. And all of this is going to be based on your current item level. It's not just going to be a flat bump up to 370s. Like, you're not going to be able to get to max level and then all of a sudden, hey, look at that, I'm going to get 370 Azerite gear. Not like that. So, what do I think as a very initial early reaction, knowing that this is simply an announcement and not something that's testable, nothing that I can really put my hands on and mess with? Is kind of my reaction. It is quite literally, I'm very hesitant and anxious to come to a great conclusion. I have seen a lot of pretty heavy-handed remarks and, well, a lot of frothing anger that continues. That's the usual thing. I'm also seeing a lot of positive feedback from critics and fans too. I'll start off with the easy stuff. We already know that Blizzard intends to improve on the traits. They intend to make them better, a little bit more interactive, and well, just less boring and passive, I guess. I said in that previous video of mine that revamping the traits is going to be the biggest piece of work that Blizzard needs to put in order to make Azerite armor feel a little bit more interesting for players that are concerned about it. What I didn't expect, and I will at least acknowledge the efforts that Blizzard is putting in, is adding this additional ring. I mean, getting double the traits doesn't sound so bad. When I think about it a little bit further, I don't expect super overpowered builds to suddenly appear, but at the same time, those sorts of more interesting combinations come up. What I'm a little bit anxious about is the danger that there's going to be an expectation that I should be able to nail all the different kind of traits that I want. And then from there is going to be the inevitable bad feeling I get when I'm unable to get these pieces of gear because reasons. So until we get a hold of it and we can play around with the meta, my impression is that, again, I'm a little bit scared that the ability to choose the kinds of traits that we want by giving us more ability to get cooler trait combinations, it's not really going to be a matter of choice anymore. It's going to be the matter of expectation that I should get those things or else I can't get into a group, or I won't feel viable, or I'm not going to parse very well. However, it's very important to keep in mind that that kind of mindset isn't shared by everybody. If I kind of put on a more casual cap, I think to myself, ooh, I can play with all these different combinations and mess with stuff and see if I can pull out some sort of fun, goofy build and, just have fun with that. So on the other side, while I'm very anxious from a min-max standpoint, from just an overall, hey, I want to be able to do things with the Azerite system, I think that this is going to be a pretty cool positive. When it comes to the Azerite armor becoming more available thanks to the emissary quests being bumped from 340 to whatever the heck, it's going to be scaling up. I think that this is a pretty smart move. Here come the downvotes. But I think that this was a pretty clever move in part of Blizzard. When I talked about the availability of Azerite gear in the previous video, I mentioned some of the suggestions that other players made, such as having Azerite gear be available every week from the Mythic Plus cache, which is cool. However, it doesn't quite address all players, and that's something that needs to be respected as well. The thing that we want to avoid is to create a huge gulf between players who only do like Mythic Zeros or LFR and they're unable to get that sort of Azerite gear at all. Meanwhile, Raiders, Mythic Plus runners, they're able to get a lot more gear, so there would be a very big divide. So emissary quests offer a cool balance between those two. It also gives Blizzard the ability to kind of control things from the shadows. The availability of this type of gear is going to be a little bit limited. Meanwhile, runners of Mythic Keystone Dungeons are still going to get accessibility to the highest levels of Azerite gear by chance, maybe, but they at least have that opportunity. Oh, and Raiders too. I kind of forgot about them because they don't have a problem with this at all. In my opinion, this is going to have some immediate impacts, especially because this is an expected hotfix, which is not guaranteed. Again, I'm not saying that Blizzard is promising anything, but that is the intention here. This will make emissaries a little bit more interesting, or at minimum, it's going to lead players who have already graduated away from World Quest thanks to their maxing out rep. They'll at least take a look at the map and be like, do I want this? Ooh, Azerite, let's do it. Let's go. So this is a small plus, but at the very least, it's going to get a lot more players out into the world a little bit more often, or at least whenever there's an Azerite armor thingamajigger available. The pacing is where I put things into question because, at least off the top of my head, we don't see Azerite armor rewards being doled out all that often. I haven't been keeping track, that's for sure, so I don't think that we really see Azerite armor rewards from emissaries more than, like once a week, maybe? The other thing is that those specific Azerite armor rewards are pretty specific. It's not using the entire dungeon pool like the Mythic Plus weekly cache does, so the overall cap of interest in that kind of gear, based on the kinds of traits that we're going to get, it may not be very high. High-level poop is still poop. It still remains to be seen what's going to happen in 8.1 when the Azerite armor traits are going to be upgraded. And keep in mind, I don't think I said this earlier, but please definitely keep in mind that when 8.1 launches, it's not going to be a retroactive change. So going back to the Azerite trait changes, or the addition of the additional ring, it's not going to be a retroactive thing. You would need to reacquire those pieces of gear again. Anyway, going back to the emissary rewards, it just remains to be seen because, again, we don't have anything testable, there's nothing data mined or anything that gives us a good feeling or a good indicator that whatever we get from the Azerite armor caches are going to be worth getting. Although it doesn't take a lot of work, so there's that. So those sum up my specific initial thoughts about it, and overall, Okay. This is an effective band-aid. This is what I was looking for when trying to design something that would help stave off some of the rage over this system. I think this is very early, so it remains to be seen just what kind of impact these changes are going to have. However, I do think that Blizzard is kind of doing its above and beyond by, one, adding that additional ring. I think that overall that's going to be a good thing, although it is going to have some mixed reactions among certain kinds of players. I do think that making higher level Azerite pieces available from the emissary is overall better for everyone, even though it doesn't entirely address some of the misgivings among Keystone runners. And we haven't seen anything on the new or the revamped traits that are coming in 8.1, so I'm definitely holding off on that. The other thing I'm a little bit anxious about is that it's still probably going to be a small concern of some players, maybe many players, about managing Azerite gear and having to respec or having to spec or respec their gear, or having to farm multiple sets of gear in order to suit their certain playstyle. That part hasn't been talked about yet, and based on what I'm seeing so far, it would be nice if they lifted the NPC cost of having to respec and move that into the player economy. Like, make scribes have some sort of uber tome that lets them respec Azerite gear on the field. I think that would be a nice compromise. So those are my impressions so far. They're for the most part positive, but of course I'm going to be anxious and I'm going to keep an eye out on more specific changes, and as they come in, I'll let you know. That's all I got for today, so leave a comment below and let me know what you think about these changes. Are they going to help? Are they a decent band-aid? Is it still doo-doo butter? Just let me know. And of course, please like and subscribe to the channel to help support me, and well, just make sure that I can keep giving you more of this and all things Warcraft. Maybe we can talk about this on stream a little bit later today, but otherwise, hey, I'll see you later. Until then, stay safe, stay happy, and stay breezy.